So you're a personal trainer interested in becoming a certified cycling instructor. Let's talk about it. One of the biggest longevity tips that I always give on this channel is about teaching group fitness. Now, if you're a trainer that you're looking at the different formats and you're thinking which one's for me, and all of a sudden you land on cycling, you take a couple classes and you're thinking, wow, I think I could do this. What are my options? Where do I go from here? A large part of this video is going to be on the different types of certifications, types of cycling, and help you with choosing which avenue to go down. Then we're going to dive into preparation for your first day of teaching and provide some insights on getting hired. To make this video and bring a different voice other than Google Gemini to all of this, I asked my friend Jen Tufts to contribute. She's not only a YouTube cycling instructor that has, at the time of this recording, over 24,000 subscribers on her channel, but she's also a general manager for a gym in her community, and she teaches at a CycleBar. What makes her insight even more valuable, at the time of this recording, she's actually been helping with auditions and the hiring process for both of those in-person facilities. Let's kick it off with the types of certifications out there. Understanding how different cycling workout styles align with the specific certifications is one of the most valuable insights you can start to dive into. Performance-based cycling. This style is designed to mimic outdoor road cycling indoors. Classes focus on simulated terrain, so flats, climbs, intervals, and sprints, and are heavily structured around exercise science. Trainers tend to love this format because it speaks their language. It's rooted in periodization, measurable progress, and biomechanical safety. There's no upper body movements, just pure athletic output. Next, rhythm-based cycling. In these classes, the BPM, so the beats per minute, a very common term that you're going to hear if you go down this road, is of the playlist that dictates the rider's cadence. The environment is highly curated, usually a dark room, high-end sound systems, lights, fans, designed to evoke an emotional response.
It caught my eye so much that I drove an hour and a half up through Detroit to the closest CycleBar and took that class. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like nothing I'd ever experienced before. Because the lighting and the energy were completely different from any other spin class that I had taken.
It often incorporates weight tracks and are choreographed to movements like tap backs, push-ups, and side to sides. I'm going to put a quick interjection in this video and say that I personally have no issues with any of the upper body movements on the bike. Do I do them? No, that's just not my type of flavor, my type of class. But if you do, if you get people moving and if you get people coming back, in my opinion, that's what it's all about. There's going to be a lot of negative talk you hear out there if you do upper body movements on the bike. But in my opinion, it's just chatter. You really got to go with what you like and what's going to help you build your career. Why trainers often struggle with this format initially. Trainers often look at rhythm-based choreograph and worry about the orthopedic safety. However, mastering this style is key to getting hired at a lot of the lucrative boutique franchises. Next up is hybrid or fusion cycling. This is the sweet spot of modern indoor cycling. It attempts to resolve the debate between power and rhythm. Hybrid classes use the playlist to drive the cadence, riding on the beat, but completely discard upper body movements that some might see as gimmicky. Trainers often excel with this form because it allows them to deliver a fun, high-energy party atmosphere that keeps classes packed while maintaining strict biomechanical integrity and tracking real athletic data. If you missed any of the information on those slides, you could go to the landing page for this video. There's going to be a chart, a breakdown. There's a lot of names that were shown and the certifications and what types. And now I'm going to talk about specialization certifications, or even ones that gyms have to pay for a subscription. Now, something that I haven't mentioned yet is that I actually have 2 cycling certifications. I have 2 through Les Mills, and a gym has to subscribe to their service. Now, the reason why I personally chose Les Mills was that I personally like taking those types of classes, especially sprint, It's a format that I enjoy doing on a weekly basis. I've also met a lot of Les Mills instructors that I think are fantastic just through my journey. I'm not saying other certifications don't have great instructors. Just the ones that I've met are high quality, top notch instructors. Now, I have to interject a little bit of the background as well. A part of why I chose Les Mills was also that it gives you the teaching, it gives you the formatting, which some of these other ones do, but being able to just learn a choreographed class, it really fits with my schedule. I run a company like KIPS. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of content, a lot of editing, developing courses, and something that if I wanted to pop over and teach at a gym, at least I have that part checked off. Now, some might say if you're going down the road of getting a Les Mills certification, you are limiting your hiring opportunities. I think that's not true. In my opinion, it really sets you up for success. That's my experience with the Les Mills education. It really helps you dial in how to teach a class. Now, if you are a good instructor, let's say that you are able to put together a class, a rhythm or a hybrid based class with your own music, not using any of the Les Mills information, and you are going to gym saying, I could do either. I could teach a Les Mills or I can do a hybrid class with my own music off of Spotify or a playlist that I made, you are going to open doors for yourself. Gyms, they're going to want to hire you because now you have different tools inside your tool belt. If you could teach, if you could sub, you're going to be somebody that the managers are going to be calling you to sub or to get in front of clients because you are one of those people that has multiple tools in your tool belt. Let's now get into some of the ins and outs of being an instructor, the performance versus coaching. To be a successful instructor and lead a class, instructors have to perform the actual workout at a high level while simultaneously projecting their voice, cueing, and maintaining a high energy.
Actually, people are really surprised when I tell them that I am not at the same resistance level that I'm coaching you to be at, because I'm not there to prove anything. I'm there to motivate you and to coach you through to have your best workout ever, right? And so, and I'm not there to work out myself. I'm there for the rider. I'm there for them. My workout is later. At CycleBar specifically, I will do what they call power posing, where you get up and you kind of stand up, like your pedals aren't moving, but you stand up on the bike. And, I'll be pointing at like, Susie, you got this, or we got leaderboards and be like, look at guys, look how great you're doing, and that also helps me catch my breath.
One of the secrets behind the scenes of being a cycling instructor is often you are not doing it to your 100% effort. You are not there to exercise. So dialing down the resistance, but not making it too obvious is one of those tricks of the trade that you learn while you are being an instructor. And that's something that takes time, takes experience on the bike so that you know what looks realistic, but also is on beat if you're doing a rhythm-based ride, or people that are taking your class, they can look up, see how fast your legs are going, and get on that same rhythm. One of the best tips that I can give about preserving your voice and not yelling above the music is learning how to coach at different levels, different pitches, and what that does to the class. What song is on? How can you change your tone to either match the intensity or change it up just a little bit so that somebody that maybe is really struggling, you can talk to them in your normal voice and what that does. Or at times when you really need high energy, you're matching that intensity with your voice. So having different levels is one of those experience items that comes in as being an instructor.
But I have to remind myself that I don't have to shout to create energy. I don't have to yell to motivate. And that is something that I have to work on a lot because I get excited and I get loud and things. And then, I've left classes before where I'm like,
Let's move into the audition process and getting hired at a facility, whether it's at a gym or a boutique gym. Is my certification going to be accepted? Is it going to pay off? Is my investment, my few $100s, whether it's $200, $500, am I going to be able to get hired and start teaching? Big question out there.
There's actually a huge difference between the two. So we'll start with the box gym. They are looking usually for a certification of some kind that gives you credibility. But they're also probably looking for things like customer service skills. Now, as opposed to the boutique fitness place, like CycleBar specifically, you don't have to have a fitness background. You basically have to pass a vibe check and an audition. And then they put you through their boot camp. And so you get their specific CycleBar certification. So you don't have to be a certified spin instructor to teach at CycleBar, but you will go through their specific training.
Start teaching in front of a camera. Pick out all the little things that you wish you said, all the little things that you potentially missed, but also the practice of learning how to build a class, teach a class, what you're saying. That all really helps. It's reps. And then it's also a critical eye. You are now looking at it and being able to analyze yourself, which I believe is a very big thing these days. Not a lot of instructors can do it. And you might be thinking, I'm not trying to do online. I don't want to do online. It's reps. It's practice. You don't just become good at being a cycling instructor overnight. So teach in front of a camera, analyze it, have a friend look at it, a friend that's maybe a cycling instructor, and all of a sudden you have really valuable feedback.
First and foremost, confidence. Confidence. You walk in, you have a presence about you, you're fun, you're welcoming, you're not like ignoring certain people, you're not singling anybody out. But with that in mind, confidence with an ego is not going to work. Like if you're coming in like, oh, I'm going to own this place. No, that's not going to fly. And then if you can make me laugh at some point during the process, that is basically a win in my book, because that means you're going to bring fun energy into the room. Your classes are going to be fun. People are going to want to come to your class because you made them feel seen and you made them laugh. Like, let's say they do the audition and I've noticed some things that are like, we can work on that. If they accept that constructive criticism and they're not like, oh my God, if they're not like super upset about it and they're like, okay, yeah, I can work on that. That's huge. With the interview, if you're early, that's a very good sign for me. If you're at least 5 to 10 minutes before your scheduled time, that shows me that you're going to be on time to work. What you're wearing, if you're going to show up in jeans and a t-shirt, like a dirty t-shirt or something, like I'm automatically like, I don't know. What are examples of some outfits that they could wear? For guys and girls, a polo shirt, like a tennis shirt, khakis, nice, clean, maybe Lululemon leggings or something, athleisure, like something that's really nice looking, that does make a difference. Your first impression is extremely important.
Let's wrap this video up talking about designing a class, rhythm and playlisting versus pure exercise science. Personal trainers are trained to think in terms of sets, reps, and target heart rate zones. Cycling classes are often driven by the emotional and physical arc of a playlist. Designing a playlist that aligns with specific RPMs and resistance levels is an art form. It takes practice. It takes experience. If a trainer can't find the beat, they will struggle in a modern rhythm-based studio.
So I use Spotify for all of my playlists. On YouTube, I use Epidemic Sounds, because of copyright reasons. So if that song is available on Epidemic Sounds, 9 times out of 10, it's available on Spotify, which is great. So I have an app. It's called BPM, beats per minute. And you turn the app on and you tap your thumb on your phone and it'll count up the beats for you. So, and then once you figure out the beats per minute, I have different folders on my Spotify of different RPM ranges, like all the songs that are like 80 to 90 RPM go in that folder. All the songs that are 90 to 100 go in another folder. You know what I mean? Because CycleBar is a franchise and they have specific programming, they make it really easy for you to create a playlist for that. So for example, let's just say the song 1 is going to be a seated flat because it's in your warm up. Their RPM would probably be 85 to 100, somewhere in there. And then I'll go on my folder, kind of scroll through and be like, oh, this one's really energetic. This one's going to get them pumped up. And that's within that RPM range. Boom, that's song 1.
Going through this video, hopefully you got some insights into becoming a cycling instructor. My best piece of advice I give you is what sets you up for success on day 1. Is it going to be a certification that gives you the choreographed routines, the music, and so that you don't have to think about those things and you're just working on your coaching, learning this stuff and learning where the timing is. Maybe. Is it learning how to build classes using different apps? Maybe you are going through a boutique gym's program so that you know their system. Maybe that's for you. There's no one path to getting started, but it does take experience. It does take repetitions.
If you have like absolutely no experience, it might be worth going the boutique route because you have a longer boot camp. You learn how to be a spin instructor through that. Like they teach and you record yourself. You prove that you can teach and coach in a good and effective way. And if you can't show that, then you have to keep redoing it until you can. So they make sure that you know what you're doing.
And if you are new to cycling and you're watching this video, hopefully helping you decide, drop in the comments where you think that you're going to go. I hope that you got something from this video. It helps you on your journey, and I'll see you in the next one.